Hey guys, so good morning. Hope you're all well. Wednesday morning, middle of the week, and yeah, a new day. I just felt I wanted to just share something with you guys this morning to the men, to the leaders of the homes, and if you're a single guy, you'd really be leading your own life. And so whether you're a married man with kids, not with kids, a single guy, the Lord's called each one of us as men to lead our lives well, to lead it with conviction, with faith, and and it's amazing how each one of us have different moments and different times in our lives when the Lord calls us to rise to a new level of leadership and a new level of being equipped by Him, being strengthened by Him. And as many of you would know, the Lord is always kind of moving us into places where we haven't been before, new territory, and I believe that the Lord always wants us to take these new places of territory or new areas with faith, with strength, but more than that, being equipped by His Spirit, being equipped by who He is, by His impartation, and by Him actually doing in us what we cannot do in ourselves. And so I really want to share something with you this morning. And how do we as men and as leaders position ourselves in order to be equipped by the Lord? And I do know that many of you are currently spending amazing times with the Lord and really pressing into His presence, trusting Him. And many of us are even seeing just the wonders of what God is doing in and around us at the moment. And some of us in our personal lives, and some of us in the lives of those around us. But there are very clear evidences of God's provision and what He's doing, His presence, Him being around us and surrounding us. But the question is, how do we as men position ourselves in order for the Lord to impart to us that which we require to do what He requires for us to do? We in ourselves don't have what it takes to do what the Lord requires us to do. And I want to share with you just quickly a little story I read the other day, and I really felt and I really hope that this would encourage you. And it's about Moses in the burning bush. And you all know that Moses was chosen by God not because he was well versed or the most skilled person. He was chosen by God actually because he didn't have what it took excuse me, for God. Sorry, he didn't have what it took in order to go and free the Israelites, or to be the key figure in what would ultimately lead a whole people into freedom. And I want to just look at the story quickly and how the Lord first started speaking to Moses. And we start off where Moses was tending the flock of his father-in-law. And then I'll read from verse 2, Exodus 3. Then the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. So in a sense, the angel of the Lord is just the presence of God, something supernatural that he becomes aware of. Moses saw that the bush was on fire and it did not burn up. So Moses thought, I will go over and see this strange sight, why the bush does not burn up. And I wonder, just for us quickly, just as I pause there for a second, how often do we view the things that God is doing and we view them from a distance, rather than making a decision to go closer to see what is it actually that God is busy doing? Verse 4 we read, if we carry on, when the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, Moses, Moses. And Moses said, here am I. And then really the story follows where God starts speaking to Moses about what he is actually calling him to do. What is he asking him to do? And even this thing, as obviously as the story unfolds, this thing that God's calling him to do is way bigger than what Moses can do, what he has the ability to do. But what I love about this story is that Moses did not just observe the presence of God and that which God was doing from a distance, the bush that was burning. Quite obviously it was something supernatural, something that wasn't in the natural, but he made a conscious decision to go closer and take a look to see what is actually going on here. And it says that when God saw that he went closer, that he drew nearer, God then spoke to him. And I think some of us at the moment might be in a place where we really desire to hear God speak to us. And I wonder if some of us might be at the place where we could consider that we are observing God's supernatural from a distance rather than drawing nearer and taking a closer look at what's taking place. And I really believe that for some of us, as we actually draw nearer to the Lord in what He's doing, He will start speaking to us. We carry on reading as we read Exodus. There's a time when Aaron and Miriam actually oppose Moses, and they say, well, the Lord has called Moses in such a special way, but surely the Lord also speaks to us. And what's beautiful about that story is that Moses had such a life in walking with the Lord so closely that God spoke up on Moses' behalf, because Moses was drawing near to God so much. God spoke up and actually rebuked Aaron and Miriam, and he actually started saying, I speak to everyone in parables and in stories and in pictures and in prophetic words, but not so with my servant Moses. With Moses I speak face to face. And there was something very special about the way the Lord communicated with Moses, and I believe it had to do with the way Moses drew near to the Lord. And I don't know about you, but I really want to be one of those counted worthy enough that the Lord would speak to me, in a sense, face to face, clearly enough that I would hear His voice very clearly. So I hope this would encourage you guys this morning, that when we see the burning bush in our lives, the radical presence of the Lord, that we would draw nearer, that we would go closer to have a look, to see what God is doing. I hope that you are blessed by this, and may we become men that lead not just our families or our households, our ministries or our workplace, but lead ourselves from a place of drawing near to the Lord when we see His presence and hear Him speak to us in a very clear way. Bless you guys. I hope you are all really well, and we're always praying for you, and have a wonderful week. Cheers, guys.